Hello and welcome to the, got no idea what number of the episode this is, 52? Welcome to the 52nd, maybe, episode of the What Shara Made podcast. Welcome back if you are a long-time returning viewer, and a big hello if you are a brand new viewer today. I've got a couple of whips to show you, and I've got a couple of FOs, not all of them yarny. And that's about it. So, I'm just going to move this out the way and get started. I'll show you my whips. Now, this one's an old one that you've seen before, but it's grown a little. It's almost up to a slightly more exciting part. I will be closing for the armholes any second now. I've got maybe 2 or 3 more rows before. I'm not really sure which way this goes. Okay, so not that you can tell at this stage, but it is the yoke of a brioche jumper that I've been knitting, and you might remember this from a few episodes ago. And I'll give you a closer look. You can see these are the raglan increases here. Not exactly, but you can sort of see them. See them over here too. So it's like this on the outside, it's like this on the inside, and the yarns that I'm using are Clequeton Peytonal Merino Ombre, and I think it's actually a sock yarn. It's 25.75, so it's got the same composition as a typical sock yarn, and you can definitely use it to make socks because they've released patterns along with the yarn for socks, but they've also released garment patterns as well. So and sock yarn is actually a really great choice for making garments because it's typically quite hard wearing and washes well. So I've got that interesting effect, and I'm really excited about closing for the armholes because there's presently, you can't really tell because it's all squished up on here, there's presently a lot of stitches on here, and each round takes a fair bit of time. So once I close the sleeves off, the body has a lot less stitches than the body as well as both sleeves at present because it's top-down construction. So it should go a lot quicker once I close for the sleeves, and that should be happening any second now. I'm really excited. I'm almost up to wearing it. I love this so much. I wish you could feel it because the yarn's really, really soft. It's beautiful. And it's really nice to work with, but the squishiness of the brioche is so delightful. I'm really excited about wearing it. And if this one works, which I'm reasonably confident it will, I've got some beautiful northbound knitting yarn that I ordered earlier in the year. I think in the bourbon colourway and the metallurgy colourway, and they're going to look gorgeous together in a sweater like this if this works and I can reproduce it. When I was designing this, it took me so long to figure out the correct stitch count and ratio of increases and what sort of increase to use and things like that. And I had it all scrawled down on a little piece of note paper that I'd ripped out of my notebook and jammed in my knitting bag, my project bag. And now I don't know where that little piece of paper is. And it had all sorts of crucial stuff written on it. But I should be able to reverse engineer everything from here. And you never know, I might find that little tiny scrap of scrunched up paper somewhere in one of my knitting bags. Hopefully I didn't get thrown in the bin. So that is my number 1 whip. My next whip isn't all that interesting because, try not to dangle needles on the table, it's just the back of a sweater, and I know that's very unusual for me. I normally do everything in the round, and I often convert things that are knit flat to work them in the round because I just find it easier and a bit quicker. But this one I thought, no, I'll follow the pattern exactly. So far I've got a wrinkly the bottom half of the back of a sweater, And I do believe I declared when I made my True Friend sweater that I would never ever ever knit another adult sweater in fingering weight yarn ever again because it's crazy. So pretty much the next sweater I cast on was fingering weight adult sweater. I'm obviously a glutton for punishment. I really love wearing fingering weight sweaters and cardigans and everything because they're beautiful to wear. They're perfect for Melbourne weather where you need to layer things because weather changes so frequently, even just in one day. So I love wearing them. Don't love making them as much because they take forever. But this is the back. I'm almost up to I've got maybe that much more to go, and then I start shaping for the armholes, and I'm happy about that. Now this pattern is called Fitted Pullover, so very imaginative, and it's by, I'm going to say this name wrong, Nora Gunn. You know who she is. She's the amazingly talented author of so many amazing books, and this pattern is out of the Cable source book pattern. I've shown it in previous episodes. It's an amazing book. And this is the back of the fitted pullover, and the front is going to have a pretty magnificent cable design that looks a little bit like a fox. And I think it's going to be pretty good in the foxy colour, and I love this colour. But yeah, so far this is all I've got at the back. It has knit on either side and then a purl panel or reverse stocking stitch panel running up the centre back with these lines either side. And I dyed this yarn myself. I wanted something this colour and I couldn't find one that was quite right. I didn't want a, fluorescent safety orange, but I didn't want brown either. I wanted it really looks like the colour of roast Kent pumpkin, if that helps you at all. It's sort of a rusty orange. It's actually looks a little bit different on screen than it is in real life, but it's a pretty good match. You get the idea. It's slightly tonal. You can see that here, it's showing up a bit more significantly on screen than it is in real life, but really enjoying it. I am not alternating skeins because I like to live dangerously and I'm a little bit lazy. But it's not pulling in an unattractive way, and I dyed all three skeins together and they look pretty similar, and I figure I can actually get the whole back done with one skein, probably less than one skein, and then I can get the front done with less than one skein, and then I can get the sleeves done with the third skein. So I don't think there's actually going to be any intersections. Pardon my phone noise then, I meant to turn it on silent. Let me just do that right now so it doesn't happen again. Sorry about that. So I don't think there'll actually be any intersections of the skeins anyway, so I don't think any dramatic changes will be visible. That's my plan. I can't guarantee that, of course, until I do it, but that's my working theory at the moment. So that's this whip. Really enjoying it, actually. Maybe making fingering weight sweaters for adults isn't too bad. But this one is actually one of the jumpers I'm making for Bendigo, for the Australian Sheep and Wool Show coming up in July. And each year I try and make myself at least one special sweater to wear to Bendigo. And every year I leave it to the last minute and think I am going to start that sweater for Bendigo in March next time, and I always leave it and leave it and leave it and leave it, and this time I started it in May, which is probably the earliest I've ever started a sweater for Bendigo. So I'm getting there. Hopefully, I feel confident that I can get it finished without doing any like crazy knitting, like marathon knitting, before Bendigo, and I feel so confident that I can get it finished before Bendigo that I've got a whip for another thing I want finished before Bendigo, and I've got a plan for a third piece that I want to finish before Bendigo. So I might be a little bit nuts doing that, but you know, you never know. I might do it. I've started them in order of priority on which things I definitely want finished by Bendigo. So hopefully that helps. So my next whip is another thing that I want finished by Bendigo, and I feel confident that I will definitely have this one finished. Fingers crossed. And really sorry if you can continually hear my phone now vibrating next to me. Someone is sending me like 5,000 messages all at once. Yay. So, do you like it? Can you tell what it is? This is the, I can't remember who made it. I will look that up and put that down here. But it's the Boundless cape. And I think it's by the Twist Collective, but I'm not sure who that entails, which, like, the people that are involved in that. Or maybe it's just one person. But it's... I had a few false starts on this, as I had a few false starts on this as well, but I won't go into that. But I'm well on the way now, as you can see. I've got the hood section done, and I really love it. It looks better on screen than it does in real life, I have to say, because in real life you can see that, I don't know if I'm not very good at knitting cables, or if this is just what cables look like, although when I look at other people's cables, they don't really look like mine. So I think I might have a bit of a weird way of knitting cables or something, and they don't turn out awesome. I don't know, maybe after it's been lightly blocked, they might sort of puff up a little bit and be a bit better, but I don't know. Anyway, I still love it, so no trouble there. So it starts with the hood, and it's got shaping on the back, and it's been grafted up the back. My grafting was not awesome on this, and I'm not 100% sure why, but anyway, it's the back of the hood, so it doesn't really matter. And now you can see I started the body section. It's coming along nicely. It has thread on it. I'm probably maybe a third of the way through the body chart, and one section of the body chart, the last section that goes around here, you can continue repeating until it's the length that you like, and I'll just, I haven't decided how many repeats I'll do of that section. I might try it on when it gets a bit further along, just so I can judge the length of it. Ideally I want it to be at least down to my elbows, and I've got enough yarn to do that, I predict. But once it gets beyond the elbows, it starts getting a bit cumbersome to wear, unless it's got holes for your arms to come out when you wear a cape. Otherwise you're constantly trying to flip in and out of your cape, and it's not easy. You have to get very dramatic about it. So I was thinking maybe just a smidge past the elbows, because I want it to be warm and like actually practical for use as something that keeps you warm, but I don't want it to be like I don't want it to be too huge, like I'm wearing a blanket. But we'll have to see. I'll have to try it on and give it a go, but this is my Boundless cape, and I'm really happy with it. Really excited. Love the colour. Really enjoying it. And all the cables, like basically the entire pattern is charted. There's not a whole lot of written instructions for the pattern, which is great for me because I really prefer to work from charts when I'm doing something like this. It seems to be a lot more practical and makes a lot more sense when you're looking at a picture of what you're doing rather than words. So I'm just, as I do each row, I'm just drawing a line through that row, and then I know which row I'm up to. And I sort of feel a little bit like I'm plodding along rather than actually getting it done. I think last night I got maybe from this point, so from there up, done, and that's all I did. And it took several hours, like it wasn't quick. It's slow going, because I do sort of have to look at the chart the entire time. It's not, I mean, once you get a few repeats going per row, you've got it memorised and you can do that row without looking at the chart, but I do have to look at the chart every single row. Oh, the camera just moved. I don't know what happened to the camera there, but now I can't get it back into the position I normally have it in, so we'll go from here. It is slow going, but I'm enjoying it. I'm liking it. At first I was really unhappy with the way my cables were looking, but the more I look at it, the more I'm enjoying it, and I think it's still going to be a really fun piece to wear around. And it is a little bit woodland pixie, but I'm fine with that. Totally fine with it. I'm really looking forward to wearing it, actually. Now I'm going to move on to FOs. Now this one you would have seen a few times appear on the podcast. I finally finished it and blocked it, and it's ready to go off to its recipient, who is one of my mum's friends. And that is my Random Acts of Colour shawl, and it's ginormous. I'm not going to be able to fit it in the shot, so we're going to have to do a little track. Here we are. Beautiful, gorgeous, whoops, loving it, so pretty, it's huge, oh my god, love it. So that's my gigantic Random Acts of Colour shawl. The pattern is written for fingering weight yarn, but I did mine, this one, in a DK weight yarn, although it is a light DK, still a DK, and it's huge. Like, this probably took maybe 800 metres of yarn, possibly more. But I'm really happy with it, really, really happy. Love it to death. And Mum's really happy with it, and she said that she's pretty confident that her friend will really love it too. So that is that FO. It's huge. Love it. And my next FO is not yarny at all, but it is fibery, I guess. And that is another quilt. And if you follow me on Instagram, you've probably already seen this, because I did like blast Instagram with finished pictures of this finished piece, and that is my quilt. I made another quilt. This is my second quilt that I have made, and you can tell I've really got the quilting bug. This one's huge, and it is a bit crinkly and wrinkled because I've been sleeping with it on my bed. So it's huge. Obviously I'm not going to be able to fit it in the shot, but I'll move it around. Hopefully you'll get the idea. I don't know what you can actually see on there. And it's got this fabric on the back, which is the same as the border, you can see there. So I'll probably put a picture of it in here, a full length picture, so you can get the full effect of it right here. and maybe even a little video of it. Listen closely for the kookaburras here. So you've seen a full-length version of it now, hopefully. I put that picture in. So it gives you a better idea of what's happening. And this technique that I've used here is called Bargello, or Bargello. I don't know how to pronounce it. And it's a lot simpler than it appears. And if you're curious about it, Google it, Bargello quilt, that here, on YouTube actually. Search for it on YouTube and you'll see people doing it. And there's lots of really interesting videos about the actual technique, and some of them only go for a couple of minutes. You don't have to watch someone make an entire quilt to understand the process. It's literally no more complicated than sewing strips together, so that's awesome for beginners like me. And this was also the first time I tried free motion quilting, and I was a little bit apprehensive. I wasn't sure I was actually going to be able to do a good job with the free motion quilting. Never done it before, but I got a free motion quilting foot for my sewing machine, and I thought, look, I'll give it a try. If it's rubbish, no big deal. I've tried it, but I tried it and I loved it, and I couldn't stop. I did the whole quilt and I really enjoyed it. You can't really see too much of it here. It's a bit hard to tell. You can sort of see it. I didn't really know what I was doing, and I'm sure there's like special like rules with what you are meant to do and what you're not meant to do with it, but I just went for it. It feels good, it looks good. Some bits are better than others, I have to say. There's a few bits that I'm like, that's not ideal, but most of it looks pretty good. I can't really see it. And of course, on the really dark bits, because I was using a light coloured thread, on the really dark bits it's a lot more prominent. And every time I got to a dark section on the quilt to start doing the free motion quilting, I got really nervous that it was so visible that it was going to look rubbish and be able to see any mistake I made. And so, of course, because I was really worried about it, I made heaps of mistakes. On the light coloured parts where you can hardly notice the quilting, no mistakes, it's basically perfect, looks fantastic. On these parts where it's really dominant, all sorts of weird, strange things were happening. But, like, I don't know, this weird thing that looks like a upside down duck head or something. But anyway, it doesn't really matter. It's just for me, and I still love it. It's all good. When I first started doing the free motion quilting, rookie mistake, I didn't check the back of the quilt. I just doing it on the front. Thought that looks pretty good, and did about a foot wide panel all the way from the top of the quilt to the bottom of the quilt, right in the middle. I thought, I'm so proud of myself, look how much I've done, this is great, I'm making excellent progress. And then as I sort of took the quilt out of the machine to sort of reposition it and do the next part, I looked at the back and I was like, fiddle-dee-dee, that is not excellent. And something had gone weird with the tension, and the back was all loopy and it was completely ridiculous. There was no saving it, and I had to unpick about 47,000 kilometres of stitching. And that was hard going. It took me hours and hours and hours to do that. And it's not like I'm picking a seam when you're sewing clothes or a bag or something, where you can sort of pull the seam apart and unpick it with your unpicker. When you're unpicking stuff that's on a flat surface that's got no seams you can pull apart, it takes a really long time, as I discovered. And then I was really upset with myself, or annoyed with myself, because there were sections where I'd unpicked those stitches where I'd done the quilting, and the fabric, it was really obvious that sewing had happened through the fabric, and it was kind of, all the little stitch holes were standing up, and it was like braille on there, and it looked ugly, and I was really annoyed with myself. I'm just trying to find a section here where that has occurred. But as you can see, because it's taken me so long to find a bit that I can show you as an example, what's happened over the last few days when I've been like using the quilt and playing with it and moving it around, and that feeling of the fabric where the needle had pierced it but I'd unpicked the stitching and it sort of felt like braille, has settled down, and they've all closed up and they're barely noticeable at all. I thought it might require a wash for that to happen, but it seems to have resolved itself now, so whew, much happier. And I'm loving it. I have been using it ever since I finished it. Really enjoyed sewing the binding on by hand. It's my favourite thing. And I'm in love with it. I'm so excited. This fabric was a jelly roll, and those who don't do quilting, a jelly roll is about 40 to 42 strips, 2.5 inches wide, the width of the fabric, so about 40 to 44 inches long or wide, rolled up into a little circle, and it's called a jelly roll. I don't know why. So it's pre-cut fabric into strips, and usually when you get a jelly roll, they're all from the same series of fabric, so they go together anyway. I don't know what this series was, or whether it was all one series or just happened to be colours that got jammed together. But I bought the jelly roll at the Australian Quilt Convention. I think that's what it's called, that I went to a couple of weeks ago and told you about on the last episode, I believe. And the backing and border material fabric I got from the Missouri Quilting Co. Because I couldn't find anything that was 100% suitable here in Australia. And I wanted a batik to match the jelly roll fabric. And I looked for ages and I couldn't find anything in Australia that was suitable, that was in stock and wasn't outrageously priced. I did find one, and it was $57 a metre, and that is ridiculous. And from my research, I could tell it was the exact same brand that the Missouri Quilt Co. was selling for $8.75 a metre. So, yeah, that was a bit frustrating. So it was cheaper for me to buy it from overseas and have it shipped here. Even though shipping isn't cheap from America to Australia, it was still better value, and I got much better service from Missouri Quilt Co. than I did from the other company. So I'll be happy to shop there again. I really enjoyed it. Really happy with my quilt, and I'm already thinking about my next quilt, what I'm going to do. But that is all the actual craftiness I have to show you. The rest of the stuff is I need to draw a winner for the Aussie Along. I haven't done that yet, and I haven't actually made the bag that is the prize for it. I thought I was going to do that this week, and it has not happened. I just keep coming up against obstacles getting in my way from making that bag and getting that done. So I'm actually going to draw it using a random number generator. I'm going to draw the winners, and I'm going to either put them on here. If not, if you don't see the names of the winners here, they'll be in the Ravelry group. So, sorry, I'm a bit disorganised there, but this was my only opportunity to film, so I thought I'd better do it now while I can, even though I didn't have those prizes ready and to draw a winner. So I've either put the names of the winners down here, and if you could contact me via Ravelry, that'd be fantastic, or they're on Ravelry. You'll know which. But that is all. And there'll also be winners for the March and April year-long stash busting craft along prize as well. So check that out. It's either here or in the Ravelry group. Thank you very much for joining me, and I hope I'll see you all again soon. And have a beautiful stress-free week or fortnight whenever I get to see you next, and we'll chat soon. Thanks.